So let's get the read on this from former Trump and Bush 43 senior advisor Christian Whiton, market watcher Keith Fitz-Gerald, and Wall Street Journal senior video reporter Shelby Holliday. So, Shelby, what happens now?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this meeting is back on in the matter of days. The president looked very casual there. I thought it was significant that Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, was standing right behind him and smiling. And in a way, a lot of people thought that this was the president standing up for his vice president, given what the North Koreans had said about him, calling him a political dummy. I do think what Blake is saying is important. It wasn't just about that comment. The North Koreans had been hesitant to talk to the U.S., to talk to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo about logistics for the summit. They did follow through on returning the hostages and blowing up their nuclear site, but there have been a lot of details that are hard to hammer out. And one significant thing that North Korea experts are saying now is that there was never an understanding of what the U.S. would be willing to give up. You know, defining the term denuclearization meant different things to both parties. The U.S. wanted Kim Jong-un to give up his nuclear weapons. Kim Jong-un wanted the U.S. to cut back on some of the things that we do on the Korean Peninsula and some of the weapons that we have over there, and we just simply aren't willing to do that. So it was also just a difference of opinion when it comes to what this summit would actually produce.
Christian, what do you think happens now? The ball's in the North Koreans' court, presumably. What do they do?
Well, now is time for China to feel some pain, and they're going to feel a lot of it. As you know, was implied, Trump said that he thinks he knows what was going on here, what caused this, and it was that change of approach from North Korea after their second meeting, after Kim Jong-un's second meeting with the Chinese dictator Xi Jinping in Dalian, after which they changed their tone. They insulted Vice President Pence and started to try to jerk us around just as they did in the two big previous rounds. And I think the president holds China accountable here. And I think, frankly, even before this recent blow-up, there was a little bit too much optimism that our trade disputes with China had been solved, and that this is actually, the president doesn't make a distinction between trade policy and foreign policy, and now it's going to be time, I think, for bad cop with the Chinese.
You know, Keith, it's so fascinating watching the markets on all of this. The closer we look to a deal, any deal, trade deal, whether it's China or a North Korea deal, whether it's the upcoming summit that's now not upcoming, great. The worse it looks, not so great. And some of the issues that would benefit, for example, from a calmer world, which really are most of the Dow 30 stocks, including Boeing and Caterpillar and all of that, take it on the chin today. What do you think happens now?
Well, I tell you, traders are really getting down to business. This market, unbeknownst to the average investor, has so much leverage involved. I'm not particularly concerned, Neil, about 150 points or 200 points to the downside. That's simply realignment. Traders are taking their foot off the gas. They're taking a moment to take a deep breath, figure out where they go next. If it were 300-400 points, then fine. There'd be some real selling. But this is just a minor realignment as they wait for another shot at this summit.
So, Shelby, I'm looking at all of this. I'm looking at gold, which was racing ahead on news of this first happening. There was briefly a flight to quality in our treasuries, the kind of places people go when they get nervous of the dollar. Less so now, but we still have, 3.5 hours to go. The markets would prefer talk than not talk, right?
Well, yes, and I also think the markets just want stability. And when you look at some of the decisions President Trump makes, you just simply don't get stability from the president. This is his style. This is his negotiating tactic. Will he or won't he? He's always keeping everybody guessing. I do think this move could be significant in the broader sense that I know traders always watch the president's actions to try to forecast some of his other actions. When the president says he's going to pull out of something or he'll slap tariffs on something, occasionally he'll walk that back and moderate his stance. But in some instances, such as today, he'll just flat out cancel something or pull out of an agreement, the Paris Climate Agreement, the Iran deal. So I do think people try to read the tea leaves, but at this point, the president is so unpredictable that can be very hard to do. And in that case, I think watching some of I think it was really important that he looked relaxed. He seemed to be chewing gum, actually. He was making some jokes when he's talking about nuclear war.
I was wondering what that was. It could have been lunch or whatever. But
people behind him were laughing, and I think that makes you less worried.
He was very calm about it. But let me ask you this, Christian. We're getting word now that the National Security Council is going to convene a 5 p.m. Eastern Time meeting to discuss North Korea. So that obviously behind the scenes, they're recalibrating. Are they setting up a meeting and not losing hope that there could still be a meeting?
Well, clearly in his letter and then today in his remarks, Trump left open the possibility that North Korea could realize the error of its way, realize what it's losing here. And it really is losing something that it was a chance for it to come in from the cold if it wanted to be a normal nation. I think it's hard probably for Pyongyang and Beijing at this point to go back to the agreement because it would look like a concession on their part. They would lose face on their part, but you never know. It could happen. I think you'll see instead a return to the maximum pressure campaign, probably even more so than before. You'll see the president and others calling out Chinese violations of the tough sanctions put in place, and that's sort of a common thing. China will always be tough in the early part of a crisis with North Korea in curtailing trade to North Korea, and then it slowly goes by the wayside. It loosens up, and we're seeing some of that, which is also encouraging North Korean misbehavior. So I think you'll see general military and economic measures being ramped up against Pyongyang and Beijing.
All right, if this is off the table, real quickly, Keith, for the time being, all focus on these Chinese trade talks, how much do you weigh that in on investment?
Well, obviously, I'm watching it very, very carefully, Neil, because I'm looking at stocks like Boeing. I'm looking at the big tech. I'm looking at some of the manufacturing. All of that has got tentacles all over the world. So any calming of this, any re-engagement is going to be good for those stocks, and it's going to be good for trade. So I'm not so concerned about the level of tariffs themselves, but the overall attitude that approaches it.
Got it. Thank you, guys, all of you.